Grab your headphones, listen up, you know you love it. Drop the facade. Like the Dark Knight detective, they've got some perspective. They're a pure crime-fighting collective. It's the Bat Pod.
Welcome to this edition of DC Currents. Yes, that's right. It's our monthly DC show. My name is Bill Beer, and joining me, as always, John Coos.
Hey, Bill, how's it going? You see my California Pride thing here?
I do. Very cool, very cool. A lot of not so good things are happening out there, so.
Yep. But, yeah, excited about this diversion of doing team books.
Yes.
Love the team books.
Yes. So tonight we're going to be discussing Titans number 17, Justice League Unlimited number 1, and JSA number 2. If you'd like to join the conversation or email is the podcast at thebatpod.com. We are on Blue Sky, Threads, and Facebook. Just search the Bat Pod Podcast.
The Bat Pod is a spoiler podcast. Please read the comics we're reviewing so you can enjoy the show.
All right. So we are going to get right into it right now with Titans 17. It's the second book in a new arc with a new writer. You got the cover, Bill, to put up?
Always.
So this issue is called Time and Time Again. Writer John Layman, artist Pete Woods, letterer Wes Abbott, editor Brittany Holzer. So we got a cover here, pretty fun cover. What do you think of it?
I think this is a cool cover. You have a clock connected to some C4, and we have all the Titans there.
Yeah, got all the Titans there. And when you say all, you mean all, because the first all-in issue, we were commenting how the new leader wasn't even on the cover,
right?
Donna Troy. But this has got all the characters that are in the current Titans. I guess.
Yep.
I don't know if they have any reservists anymore, but all these characters are in the Titans. So let's go with this. So where we last left off, the team was in Titans Tower. Donna Troy is the new leader, and Roy Harper is back on the team. Clock King appeared and took them all down, and there was a cliffhanger of Donna Troy coming out of her stupor and about to clock the Clock King. So in this issue, that scene resumes. Before Donna can actually clobber the Clock King, he activates a little device covering his hand and stops her midair. We get a flashback from the Clock King narrating that when Amanda Waller failed to obtain absolute power and her Amazos released all of the stolen powers from heroes and villains, he was one of the beneficiaries. We have learned that some supers, both good and evil, didn't get all their powers back, and some people got some powers they didn't have before. Clock King apparently got some powers as a result. We flip back to the present. The defeated Titans are all now strapped into chairs in what appears to be the Clock Lair. He wants to steal their memories so he can learn everything about them and everyone they know, which would include the whole superhero community. He flips a switch. They got these things attached to their heads and stuff, kind of like electric chairs. And all of a sudden the Titans all experience great trauma. Their most memorable fears attacking them. Donna gets clever. She uses the fear of failing the Titans as a leader to go back a few hours when she was about to clobber the Clock King. It is also a moment where the Titans are all in the room together and she somehow turns the table. Then we go back to the actual present with them strapped into their chairs. The machines overload and they are freed. And then somehow the Clock King gets away. Dick tells Donna something like, "See, you are a great leader. Nice working, buddy." I'm paraphrasing, of course. It ends with an epilogue. We know that because at the top of the page it says epilogue. We find a depressed Clock King in New Hands, the villain bar, drinking his sorrows away. He is approached by a figure in the shadows that tells him that it was too ambitious to go up against some of the greatest heroes ever assembled, but they can be taken down if he works with him. Da da da. Deathstroke. Did anyone see that coming? So, Bill, what'd you think?
Overall, I enjoyed this. I've been enjoying these last 2 issues. Clock King, every time I think of Clock King, I think of the old, goofy costume. He was in the Justice League, International Justice League Antarctica, if you remember that annual.
Of course.
Yes.
Major Disaster. What was that guy's name? Something
Major
like that.
Disaster, yes.
Yeah.
And some of the other, and there was a guy that just had one name. I can't think of his name. It was like Dave or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what I think of when I think of the Clock King too. And now we've seen this guy probably in 12 issues in the last 4 months. It seems.
Oh, easily.
Yeah. So now this is his new look, which is kind of more realistic than a clock for a face.
Yeah, it would have looked a little goofy if he had a clock on his face. But this setup, he has them all in chairs with their brains hooked up, and basically he flashed back to this, whatever happened to him when all the heroes got their powers back and some powers went to different people. He has this new power. I'm not 100% sure what it is, but something to do with his brain because he has something lodged in there. But this reminds me, this whole setup where we have him hooked up to everybody and he's going to get their memories and that sort of thing. It almost reminds me a little bit of Batman Forever and the Riddler and his little brain thing.
Interesting. I liked it too. It's got a fun feel to it. But at the same time, it's hard to follow. It's a little absurd. I couldn't figure out. So they're in the Titans Tower. Mm-hmm. He kind of played in the first issue. He played with their heads as they were walking in, and Raven's seeing Trigon, and Ollie's letting Roy down or whatever. All these things, and then they kind of snap out of it, and then he shows up, and then all this stuff happens where, they're in they're in Titan's Tower. Did he transport them to the Clock King lair? Or was
I assume that's what that is, because it looks like there's a big clock on the outside, and he had this all set up.
Well, what did he put him on his back or something? How did he get him there? I just kind of okay, whatever, I'll just go with it. And then they're back, and then Donna does that thing, which I thought was kind of clever, where if her greatest fear is to fail the team as a leader, then she's focusing on that fear as a way to clock him. I've said it 5 times in the last 2 episodes. But I guess, and then things overload, and then he gets away. He just kind of gets away, which I find interesting. I mean, but it does have a fun feel. It's drawn fun, and I think the dialogue's humorous and clever. So it's fun to read, and it might be a little absurd, but it's comics.
Yes.
Whatever.
Yeah. No, I like this full 2-page panel here where the Clock King is your greatest fear, and you're looking at the fears of the different, we got Dick Grayson's fear is failsafe taking out Batman, and he's taking on, I don't know. Is that his greatest fear?
That was a reach a little bit.
Yeah. But you got Roy, Green Arrow turning on Roy. That was a fear. You have Raven and her father, that sort of thing. And then Gar, and when he was turned into the planet-sized starfish.
Starro, Changeling,
Yes.
Starro, whatever.
Yes.
And I guess Starfire's is good because that's her sister. That makes sense. I don't know who this guy that Cyborg's fighting is. Like,
No, I'm not familiar with him at all. He doesn't look familiar.
He's like a juggernaut slash Mongol character. I don't know who
Yes.
that guy is. I couldn't figure him out. But whatever.
And then, she takes a common memory, and that's how they break out of this. They use this common memory, and basically, the memory, it goes both ways, this machine. He's not just taking memories from them, and I don't know if he got their full memories, but bits and pieces of their fear, but Donna Troy is able to go into his memory and see that he has this brain ailment and that sort of thing. So
I just thought what a really cool fear for Dick would be like to actually see like the Joker shoot Barbara in the head or something. Like that would have been. That's his girlfriend. Is he really afraid that Batman's gonna die? I think he's afraid that Barbara's gonna die.
Yes, that was a little bit. That was a little bit like, I don't know about that one, but
exactly.
But I like this. Donna Troy stepped up. She's the new team leader. That was fun to see her step up in here. It's a two-parter, but at the end here, he's sitting at the bar and you see somebody in shadow. I knew who that. Well, I knew who that was.
I know. Is he proposing to put a whole like team together, or just the two of them? It's hard to.
It's hard to say
tell
at this point.
Yeah. Well, one thing that, as an aside, I almost brought it up in the last episode about is Donna. When she's depicted in like DC Universal Online or in like cartoons, those stars on this current outfit that she's had for 20 years or whatever, they move around. Have you ever understood why? You know what I'm talking about?
Maybe she has different costumes and she doesn't.
Not the stars, but no, the little stars on the black outfit in animated form. They're always moving around.
Oh,
you didn't know that?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Anyway, forget it. But I like this costume. Anyway, I'm glad. I think, and she's got some cool facial expressions in here that that make it look like believable, and I know it's fun. It'll be interesting to see where this goes. The Clock King Deathstroke team up. I still don't know. I mean, frankly, I'm not a Titans expert like you. Just kidding.
I know you're not at all.
In fact, I still need to comprehensively read that New Teen Titans from George Perez and Marv Wolfman. It's on my bucket list.
Ooh, shame on you! You've never read that. Come on.
I've read chunks of it, but I never read it like straight through.
Right.
But like I've never gotten my head around how Deathstroke by himself is such a nemesis to this team of powered heroes. I mean, I know he can regenerate. I know he can think. And his reaction times are like 10 times faster. I just never understood why he could take on this team almost by himself. But I don't know if you have any thoughts on Deathstroke. I like him. Don't get me wrong, but
not a whole lot. I'm not a Teen Titans. I don't. I'm not going to say that I know a lot of their history or recall their history from the 80s. I have read their last few series. When something interests me, I picked it up, but the characters individually were always more interesting. This Titans team that has been set up for the last few years, it's their core team, and I mean I read a lot of these characters in other books and crossovers and that sort of thing, but to know what their history is exactly. And Deathstroke seems to be a guy that's always hung up, and I know it has something to do with his kids and that sort of thing. So I'd be interested to see where this goes.
Yeah, and we talked about this. I think we touched on it in one of our episodes recently. This whole continuity right now it's almost like, I guess, sort of not just this all-in thing, but like in the last few years, didn't they kind of say that everything's continuity, that DC writers could just pull from pieces of history, they're not going to be super tethered to like strict things. Like, so the question is like, sometimes you feel like things are like represented as almost like a reboot. Like, and then other things like with Deathstroke, I think he blames this death of Grant, his son. Isn't that on them? Like, the question is, did that happen already, or did that happen at all?
No, I'm
Like,
sure that's in the past.
okay, because we don't. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? How they seem to be picking and choosing things from pre-continuities.
Yeah.
And I think it makes it interesting because it kind of keeps you guessing about stories we've heard a lot over the years. What if this has happened yet or not? Anyway, but I like Deathstroke. I like it when he actually has faced Batman at times because he's faster and he's almost as smart as Batman. But anyway, I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes.
Yeah. And there was a interesting story from a few years ago where Deathstroke went up against Batman and there was a fake Deathstroke. That was kind of this he was kind of merged between Deathstroke DNA and I believe it was Robin's DNA, Damian, so he had an algal, so it was kind of interesting. It lead into, the planet, Inferno, what was it? Lazarus Planet, yes. It led into that, so it was
if it helped create that, I'm not going to read it. I still can't. I still don't know what that story was about. Acid rain. Anyway,
we won't
let's
go
not get
there.
into it. Yeah, good thing we're not going to have to cover it.
Right.
But anyway, all right, cool. Well, the story continues, and it's fun. So let's just move on.
Absolutely. So our next book tonight is going to be a brand new book, Justice League Unlimited #1. Your writers, Mark Waid, artist, Dan Mora, colors, Tamara Bondvillain, letter, Ariana Meyer, associate editor, Marcus Draper, editor, Paul Comiskey. And we get a cover here, and we get this, what we thought was the new team. Superman, Batman, Captain Atom, Flash, Black Lightning, Wonder Woman, and Star Sapphire. What did you think of this cover?
It's a cool cover. It's fun. I guess we see that. Is it the new Flash outfit we love so much on the bottom right?
Yeah, the new Flash.
When they debuted this team in the previews or when we saw it coming,
You're like, okay, this is the team. So what do you think of this team? I mean, you got the Atom there too. I missed him, but
this is super powered. I mean, this is except for Batman, who I guess he's the brains of the operation. They are. I mean, if this is the core team of the everybody's on the team, I guess.
Well, I don't even know if this is a core team. This is, I think, because
this is just a cover.
We'll get into it because just like the Justice League Unlimited cartoon. Everybody's a part of the Justice League.
Right.
And I'll get into, what happens in this issue, and we'll get into more of how this Justice League Unlimited works. But
yeah, so maybe this is not really anything other than, hey, we just wanted to put these characters on this cover.
Yeah, basically, and make you think that these was the new Justice League. I mean, what have they got? 6? 7, 8 on the cover. Used to be like the big 7, they used to call them.
Where is he? Oh, there's the Atom. Okay, fine.
Yeah, he's front and center there. You could have missed him. So.
Yeah.
So our issue begins from the perspective of one of their newest members, Airwave. As Airwave arrives at the Watchtower, we learn a bodiless red tornado is sort of the AI mission consultant type of thing. we see Aquaman and a team of water-based heroes rush off to stop the Marine Marauder near Auckland. The challengers of the unknown rush to the lower deck to a problem with the new Watchtower's power core. Stargirl and the captain head off to track down a superpowered displacement created by the fallout from absolute power. Wally West, Flash, takes Airwave and gives him a quick tour of the Watchtower. After Airwave gets a passing glance at the layout of the Watchtower, an alert comes in, that giant wheeled vehicles are destroying a mining town in South Africa. Wonder Woman, Superman, Firestorm, Black Lightning, Kid Flash, and Star Sapphire rush off to face the machines. Meanwhile, Batman, Jaime Reyes, Blue Beetle respond to alert in Costa Rica. In South Africa, Star Sapphire shadows Black Lightning to learn the ropes of search and rescue. Star Sapphire actually uses her power to save the life with the help of Airwave. Superman finds a box with a message from the Inferno as they intend to take over the world. Meanwhile, Batman and Blue Beetle find something that appears to be very alien in their mission, and our issue ends after it's revealed that Airwave is there to kill them all. So, Justice League Unlimited, we have a team of everybody. Everybody, Titans have a location on this tower. JSA have a location. Doom Patrol has a location on this tower. This tower is so humongous, and this team, basically, they decide Red Tornado is set up to decide, okay, this is what's going on, this is who we'll send, and we see 4 or 5 different, missions that they send different teams on. So this is a massive opening issue. We haven't had the Justice League around for a couple years. Overall thoughts of this issue here?
When I first read it a few weeks ago, I was like, wow, for an issue 1, I was like, what just happened? There was so much going on. There was hardly, except for the little Flash tour for Airwave, there was most of the dialogue was reacting to crises right out of the gate. Normally, if you go back to 06 when they brought Justice League of America, I think Jeff Johns wrote it. They back to number 0 and number 1. They spent a little time talking about who's on the team and why they're doing it as a result of the Infinite Crisis and all this other stuff. They didn't waste any time here. Just going, there's a crisis in South Africa. There's a crisis here. Let's go, 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 go. And I read it. I embraced it more the second time I read it than the first. I was like, first time I read it, I felt like whiplash. What the hell just happened? That's how I felt initially. And you asked, but I mean, I didn't not like it. I liked it better the second time. I think I read it. I don't, for whatever reason, I didn't.
Yeah, I can understand that. Time. It was a little overwhelming, everything that's going on.
Yeah,
and it led me to believe. I don't know if it'll be written this way because I have a feeling it won't. But this is set up almost to be like an anthology where there's a story about this team or story about that team, but it looks like there might be several missions. An issue, I don't know. I haven't gotten into Justice League Unlimited number 2 because we talk about the releases as they're on DC Infinite Ultra. Right. So it'll be interesting direction it's going in. Airwave.
Well,
that's
okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I wanted to get into some of the so you got Wade. We talked about Wade before as sort of the ultimate historian and respecter. Yes. So I like there's certain things he's doing that if you're a DC fan over the last 40 years, you got the Red Tornado being rebuilt thing. So he was really on a Happy Harbor guy, right? That was that era, right? Where Red Tornado was prominent on the team back in the 70s and early 80s.
Yes.
And so you got that. They're kind of, he's giving a nod to that element. He's kind of giving a nod to the era, the satellite era, whatever. But so I always try to look for what Mark's doing that he's giving respect to the past. And so I think we're going to see a lot of that sort of Easter eggs throughout this series. I just wanted to point that out. It's neat that he's writing this. Now, we can get into Airwave.
Yeah, it is. And he's, as you said, historian. He knows a lot about these characters. And every character, because they say in here, every character was invited, to be a part of this. Because we're seeing characters that, I mean, I'm not fully familiar with, but we do see, on the mission with Aquaman, we see Tatora, who is the Global Guardians. I mean, the Global Guardians are even a part of this. I mean, there's a few books that are spinning out of this because you have the
question
Atoms,
book,
the question book, the Atoms. And you have, I forget what other book comes out. Oh, The Challengers of the Unknown. So there's like 3 books that are spinning out of this. And I even see, New Gods there.
Yeah.
I see Big Bartowatch. I guess they're part of Birds of Prey. So Birds of Prey even has. But the one thing I wanted to touch on, because we got Airwave was actually a big part of Absolute Power.
Right.
And I'm not going to say I was familiar with the Airwave. There wasn't a lot of instances where I read and could remember, oh, yeah, Airwave did this or did that. So I did a little bit of research. He appeared in the Golden Age. His first appearance was Detective Comics number 60, 1940. And he originally was Larry Jordan. And then he got killed off. His wife took over as Helen. And then eventually their son, Harold Jordan, Hal Jordan's cousin, became Airwave. And the mod on... What year
was this first Harold Jordan? Was it like still in the Golden Age?
I'm not going to say I'm 100% sure. I just know what the first appearance of...
Okay. I was just wondering because...
There's sort of a modern appearance. I mean, we've had Airwave, and this is the cousin of Hal Jordan's been in different things. He's been killed off and different things. But there was a Green Lantern annual from 2019, number 1. It was Grant Morrison when he was writing that. That annual that reintroduced, Harold Jordan as Airwave, and Hal Jordan was in that crossover, and it definitely was interesting. And then, he seemed like he's very young, and he wouldn't be that young with all these different things happening. But if you read Stargirl and the Lost Children, he was actually de-aged because he was taken captive by this childminder. But something with the properties of the island reverted him to a younger age. That's why he looks so young here. And when we saw him in Absolute Power, he was a big part of that. And here, he's sort of overwhelmed that he's got invited, to be a part of the Justice League here, and thrown through a loop here at the end where he's here to kill them, which we'll see where that goes. But that's I'm sure is going to be an ongoing thread.
Yeah, well, it's obvious that Wade didn't want Airwave to remain in the dustbin of obscurity. I mean, he's been planning this since, because he wrote Absolute Power as well.
Yes,
so
yes.
He was laying the groundwork in that book for this. And yeah, I'm sure he's being coerced or something. We'll find out. I mean, since we're talking about Airwave, that scene where Flash is showing him around at super speed, I thought that was pretty funny.
Oh yes, that was awesome.
and he's there's this one panel where Flash is holding behind him, and he's going so fast that Harold's mouth is like is being distorted by the air current or something. It's pretty funny. Yeah. All right, yeah, we'll see what happens with the airwave sort of angle here. I have a couple. Yeah, you mentioned in the summary. I guess I'm already kind of owning it. I'm kind of a sucker for this Carol Ferris. As Star Sapphire. She's back as Star Sapphire, and it's cool. And I hope to see her more in this book as well as the Green Lantern book. But this scene where she can if she's got this, I guess he's a villager or something. He's like injured, dying, and if she figures she can find who loves him the most or whatever and get her there, then she can use her powers of love. It was really. That was a really cool, just short little piece of this story, and I think there's a lot of those little. If we were to totally dissect this book, and give it a lot of credit, I think Wade is actually doing those little things really well. With telling a really mini story amongst this bigger story. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool, and then Airway was really helpful with that. So they're making him right out of the gate helpful. And then at the end, they're kind of saying, "You were awesome, dude." And so now they like him, and so it'll be fun.
And it's obviously a character just by, the way you look at him in those last two panels. The last page,
Right.
He feels some guilt of some sort. So this obviously isn't a true evil character. There's something going on that we don't know because he's crying, he's in tears and everything. So it'll be interesting to see where this goes. And that's the aspect I'm kind of interested in because we were introduced, as I said, to this character in Absolute Power. So it'll be interesting to see. And the next issue is titled "The Demon's Nest."
Yes.
So,
all right, yeah.
But before we get out of this one, we had a preview of Hush 2, which we'll be covering on our Gotham Currents. Did you read this Hush 2 preview?
I hardly ever read the previews.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah. It doesn't say much. It just has his pieces of different characters that he has around this board of Gotham and that sort of thing. Catwoman, we got Red Hood, Huntress, Batgirl, Gordon.
Let me check this out while you're talking.
Damian.
Oh, these pieces.
Yeah. And there's one character, I'm not sure who that is. Who's the girl with the sword in the green? Is that Talia al Ghul?
That's a good guess. It's probably my best guess. People that are really close to Batman.
And it gives you, the previous Hutch. We get the who's who of all the Gotham, characters and villains and that sort of thing. So here on the last page, he has them all there. Even has the Joker.
This looks cool. Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee, they're pretty big hitters. Hopefully this comes out on time. Sometimes Jim Lee can drag books along.
Well, maybe that will be, this is his first real big. Maybe it's already done. Already in the can. So yeah.
Let's hope so. Okay, yeah, that'll be fun. All right. Now he's got this knife in the Is he going to be a vigilante then? Because he looks like he's going after villains in this preview. He's got a knife and a Joker picture.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
All right.
Guess we'll have to wait and see.
So let's go back to the Golden Age a little bit here, and go with JSA number 2. Writer Jeff Lemire, artist Diego Oler Tweggy.
That's why I gave you this book.
Olar Tegui. Okay. Colors Luis Guerrero. Letters Stephen Wands and editor Katie Kubert. We got a cover here of Jade and Obsidian, sister and brother, yelling at each other. What do you think of this cover?
I like this cover overall because I would always like the classic, let's pick a team. We have the, pictures of the team laid out, the classic All-Star Squadron #1 cover, that appears to be arguing who's on the team or that sort of thing or a particular mission. So I enjoyed this cover overall. The art is just okay for me. We'll get in when we get into the book, but it's going to have to grow on me a little bit.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Well, let me get into this. So our last jam-packed issue left us with the introduction or the reintroduction of the Injustice Society, and we learn Obsidian is actually Johnny Sorrow in disguise. The Golden Age JSAers are trapped in the House of Fate, and the new JSAers bicker a lot. Our story starts a week prior to the last issue. Jade, Sand, and Dr. Midnight respond to an emergency at a fancy party where the guests are all doubly suspended in the air and in time and in movement, and then they begin to fall, and then Jade saves them. Done. But Daddy Alan Scott radios her that was probably just a distraction. He and the other JSAers, a whole bunch of them, I'm not going to list them all, are at the original Starman's Ted Knight's observatory where a hole is blown through the side. Wildcat 2, Yolanda Montez, runs in to investigate. The gang concludes that Cobra was the culprits, and they stole Starman's old gear. Just leaving super powerful gear laying around. Sure, whatever. Okay. Obsidian and Wildcat bicker about tactics and whatnot. Then the Injustice Society shows up and all hell breaks loose. Then we flip to a scene where Khalid, I guess he's Dr. Fate 3, but Khalid Dr. Fate is playing Xbox with Jakeem Thunder. Gentleman Ghost, Wotan, and Johnny Sorrow show up and to steal the helmet of Dr. Fate. Obsidian intervenes. Jakeem nearly says his magic word, "Say you!" But he can't, to release the genie out of his pen because he's knocked out by a Wotan magic blast. Khalid, I shouldn't say this, but this is what I wrote. Being the lamest of all Dr. Fates, decides to teleport himself and the classic JSAers to the Tower of Fate, leaving an unconscious Jakeem to fend for himself. We come back to the present where the old JSAers are fighting monsters in the Tower of Fate. Khalid created a tether back to the JSA Brownstone, but doesn't remember where it is, and Jay Garrick Flash has been running around for a couple issues trying to find it, which is like this infinite Escher-like stairway upside down place. The ISAers, that's the Injustice Society of America. Bill, does anybody ever say ISAers? Anyway, the ISAers, Solomon Grundy, Dr. Elemental, and Ruby the Red Lantern show up, and Hawkman gets stabbed by a flaming sword being held by some kind of demon. All right, the end. That was the best I could do. What did you think of this issue?
Overall, this feels like a continuation of the first issue, like part of issue #1, filling in the blanks that we didn't get in the first issue because we don't know what happened to King Thunder and what exactly is going on because they're like in middle of things. So overall, I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
I
that's a good way to put it. It did feel like it. Yeah, that's the best way. That it just kind of was like issue 1. If issue 1 was 60 pages, this would have been issue 1 or something. You know.
Yeah. Now, the other thing is, I get that this, the team of these, I'm going to say younger JSAers are very inexperienced because Jade is the team leader here. But when they get to, Ted Knight's observatory, the younger ones are like just jumping, just run in. Now, Jessie Quick, I don't feel like that she's, that young since she was part of Infinity Inc. and that sort of thing. But it feels like this team is just like all over the place. And we get, the older ones seem to be, before they get separated out, they are not even in control here. Wildcat's getting ready to give Obsidian a fat lip. And this seems to be the real Obsidian before he's replaced, because we see Obsidian in the other dude, Mr. What's that guy's name again with the red face?
Oh, Johnny Sorrow?
Johnny Sorrow, yeah. So Johnny Sorrow, and wrapping my head around who some of these villains are just because they haven't showed up too much, of course, the Gentleman Ghost and things, and the Shadow Thief, it's Solomon Grundy.
Yeah. No, I'm not 100% confident of what their power set, all of their power sets are. I can not recognize them by sight, which is good. I mean, Dr. Elemental, I don't know do you know what he does? I don't know what he does.
I'm not 100% familiar. I mean, if you're just...
Well, it seems like this Ruby, this Red Lantern gal, is that her name, Ruby?
Yes, Ruby Sokoff.
Yeah. She seems to me the only real new. Does she have any legacy, like going back?
I believe she was in the
she?
Green Lantern.
No, I'm talking about like
mini.
40 years ago.
No, not that I know of. I'm not familiar with.
Yes, yeah. So she's new. Well, okay. So we talked about continuity and what really happened when, and they kind of covered it a little bit in the first issue where they showed some of that history, and then they had that weird headline about Infinity Inc., which I commented on, but whatever. So, like, as you point out, it does seem like Yolanda Montez, Dr. Midnight, Beth Chapel, and who's the other one? They all seem super young and experienced, right? But like,
yes.
So is this like a retcon a little bit that Yolanda Montez wasn't in the Justice Society before? This is like a teenager that we've never this is her first adventures. Is that where versus Stargirl, who I guess is now going to college, and she's sort of been around a while longer. I'm trying to get my head around how old these, like, each of these kids.
Yeah, I would think some of these kids are like junior members,
But how old's Jade? Like, did Jade ever date?
Yeah. Well, when you go into the DC universe and try to do ages.
Well, not ages necessarily, but history is like, did she ever date Kyle Rayner? Like, is that...
Yeah.
Like, yeah. It's like those kinds of things that I can't get my head around. Like, who,
yeah. It might hurt your brain thinking about that stuff too much.
Well, you said the term continuity junkies. I try not to be one. But
yeah, I know.
I just kind of like want to know, because because in Titans they talked about how Roy and Donna had a history. Well, did Jade and Kyle have? I don't know. I don't know if I've told you before. I always like it when superheroes hook up. I don't know why, because it would make sense, because people meet people at work. But anyway, I'm curious to know that. So anyway, I mean, I told you offline that, like, I texted you that I was like, we'll see where this goes. I'm not down on the book, but I was probably more excited. Maybe I raised my expectations too high because
Well,
I love JSA, you know.
well, here's the thing. This felt like I read the first issue over, and it just filled in the blanks of the first issue. It didn't feel like. I mean, yeah, we filled in the blanks. Then Justice Society, showed up and that sort of thing. But we didn't get a lot of. The story didn't move forward here.
Well, okay, so we both talked about it last time. It didn't move forward, but I want to talk about another character just real quick. Is it kind of goes to continuity or how well do these people know each other or not know each other? It comes to Khalid, Dr. Fate, because so he was introduced, I think, during New 52, and he even got his own book that I bought for a while. I don't remember it, but I do remember aspects that Kent Nelson was basically happy to go off into some pocket dimension that Dr. Fate created for him and his wife so he could live or whatever. That, if I remember correctly, I don't remember how Khalid got the helmet of fate, but maybe that doesn't matter. But if you're a new reader and you're reading this series for the first time, you kind of get spoon-fed really quick. These are the Golden Age guys. Then you got the set that followed after them with the Power Girl, I guess, and Star Spangled Kid and whoever. And then, but like, where does this story telling us right now? If you're only reading this story, where Khalid came from? Like, how did he get to involved with these people?
Well, and it's the same thing with a couple of these other characters,
Well, I would put
the new Wildcat and
well, that maybe not. Yeah, maybe that's true for them. But I think it's almost like there's, like, if I'm trying to piece together what this story is saying about the eras of the JSA, is like you got the original geezers, Jay Garrick, yada yada yada. Then you got, I guess, the Stargirl, Power Girl, Hour Man, Jesse Quick, sort of. I guess they were, and then you got these
Jade
youngsters.
Obsidian.
I don't know where Khalid sort of like how'd they get to know him?
I mean, even Jakeem Thunder has been around longer than.
Oh yeah, he came out in like 06 or something.
Yeah, Stargirl. So I don't know.
Anyway, there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of characters in this book.
Yes.
And if you're like a new comic reader,
is this a good jumping on point
it might be overwhelming
story in the first two issues that you're introduced to these characters, but maybe
it'd be a lot to absorb if let's say you're 13 and you like comics. I hope they're still out there.
Well, see, I know a lot of these characters just from watching the Stargirl TV show. So the younger characters I know from there. But like the villains, I'm not so familiar with a lot of these villains because, I hadn't seen them before and that sort of thing. So the villains is kind of, okay, what is this villain power set? I like seeing, Solomon Grundy and this Wotan. I'm not 100% sure what his... he looks like he's kind of the opposite of Fate, kind of magical, that sort of thing. Johnny Sorrow, I'm familiar with. You don't want him taking off his mask, that sort of thing. So,
I don't. Johnny Sorrow. What is his power set? He takes it off and he makes you see your is it your worst fears or something, or is something happen?
Or go crazy or that
go
sort
crazy
of thing.
or something. Yeah, and that's why I got him confused with Psycho Pirate. Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, to be continued. We'll see where it goes. I mean, I think they're going to need to slow it down a little bit. There's all this stuff happening. Like, it just kind of reminds me a little of JLU. It's like, can we get some characterization going for a half a second before all this mayhem happens? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe people want to just see mayhem. I like the interpersonal stuff. They have a little bit in here where, Obsidian's angry with everybody, but then we quickly find out that's not even him anyway. And then there was this thing that they touched on in the first issue. Hopefully it comes back. Is like, why is Jessie Quick grouchy? But maybe that'll all come back.
It's more of the relationship that she has with
Our
man.
Well, that's what she said. Did she say something like during the Absolute Powers epic that he like left her somewhere or something, or wasn't there something? Anyway, we'll see. I guess hopefully they'll develop that more. But with this many characters, it might be tough to develop some of these relationships. I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot, and then they have the reservists too. So
yeah,
Johnny Sorrow's description is mystical, horrific visage.
Yeah.
And different things happen to different people that when he takes off his mask, like the wizard Shazam Johnny Sorrow took his mask off and he became stone. And forced Captain Atom to explode and likely quantum leak in time. So I don't know if there's different things. He does have the power of teleportation. He has intangibility, but he has to take his mask off to. So we'll see where they go.
All right.
But
Team books.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. I mean, overall, all of them were pretty enjoyable. I enjoyed them all. So next.
Go ahead.
Next episode, we'll be back to our Gotham books.
Yeah.
We're going to do a little Batman. What else we got? We got
Batman and Robin, maybe?
Batman and Robin, yeah. And I don't know. There's a couple newer books that come out. There's a Two-Face. I don't know if you got a chance to read that one. Did you?
No.
Did you read that one yet?
I'll read it before the next. You want to?
Yeah, and then we got Absolute Batman. We can't miss that one.
Oh yeah, Absolute Batman. Bring it.
So we will be back here in probably about a week. The way we've been doing these, we'll be back in a week or so. We'll say a week or so.
We might are we behind because of my?
Not really.
Okay, cool.
Not really. I mean, we have enough to do another episode by the time the Ultra books come out this week. We'll have enough for another 4 issues, so it's not like we're super behind.
All right.
Until next time, we thank you for getting current with Gotham Currents. We will see you later.
Bye.